DreAllDay.com.
Now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is, go get an energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of wait for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day. Welcome to the show. And today's topic is nothing fixes itself. Before we get into this, let me remind everybody that I send out a text message every single day, guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point to start your day. I call it the Daily Motivation. I send one out every Monday, also called the Monday Motivation, to help you start your week the right way. All you got to do to join my text community and be eligible to get these messages is to text me at my number 305-384-6894. And when those messages go out, if you're a member of my text community, you've opted in, then you'll be able to get those messages. Again, just text me. It's free of charge to join the community, and we take it from there. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That is the only place that I do any coaching. I'm looking for top level people. I'm looking for high level individuals who are either in or you want to join the top 2% of performers out there. And our framework is based on mindset, strategy, systems, and accountability. But my coaching is really bespoke. It's really based on who I'm talking to, what you need, and where you're at. That could be personal, it could be professional, it could be a mix of both. Either way, you want to work with me directly, have me as your coach, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That is the only way to get the process started. Again, workonyourgameuniversity.com. Link is down below in the description. With all that out the way, let's get into the topic here today, which is nothing fixes itself. So today's masterclass is about us getting real about what we need to address in our lives and our businesses, understanding that things will not change on their own, that we need to break the inertia of anything in our lives if we want to see things different. Inertia just being the fact that any situation is going to pretty much stay the situation, is going to stay as it is as a situation until or unless acted upon by some outside force. If you haven't heard me talk about the law of inertia, kindly refer yourself to episode number 2466, where I broke down and explained the law of inertia. The link to that episode will be down below in the show notes to today's episode as well. So let's get into this. Nothing fixes itself. Point number one, remembering this law, as I just said, the law of inertia. For anything to change its state, for any situation to be altered, excuse me, that situation must be impacted by an outside force that is greater than the force of the current situation. So if you're in a situation of doing a whole lot of nothing, you need an outside force, which can be a thought that comes up in your head. It could be another person whose energy is stronger than the energy of you sitting around doing nothing. Because that energy of sitting around doing nothing isn't actual energy. Doing nothing is an energy. It's a low state of energy. It's a low frequency of energy, but it is an energy. And some people, you may call it laziness. You may call it hesitation. You may call it procrastination. You may call it doing nothingness, whatever you want to call it. But that is an energy. And the energy that is going to get you out of that state has to be stronger than the energy that has you in that state. The challenge with the law of inertia, and the reason that it's a law, is that the energy that has you in your current situation is stronger than the energy that will be coming, as a general rule, is stronger than any other energy. That's the reason why you're in the state. So your reason why you're in the state of doing nothing is because nothing that has come along up to this point has been strong enough to get you out of that state of doing nothing. Same way that if we flip it around, you're in a state of movement and energy and activity. Nothing has come along that has been stronger than that energy to slow you down and get you out of that state of activity. This is why the law of inertia is what it is. This is the reason why once people start doing a certain thing, it's hard for them to stop doing it. This is the reason why we say habits are hard to break. Once we get into a certain flow and a certain rhythm of doing things, we tend to continue that flow and continue that rhythm for a very long time. Most of the time, nothing breaks that inertia. This is the reason why I have asserted many times here that any of you who's over the age of 30, you don't have to worry about what any of your high school classmates are doing these days. They're pretty much doing the same thing they were doing the last time you saw them at graduation, because they don't change. People don't change simply because this inertia doesn't get broken. Most people don't break their inertia because the only way inertia gets broken, folks, is through two words that you listen to the show often enough, you're going to hear me use often in conjunction with each other. They are consciousness and intentionality. Only way inertia gets broken is someone must be conscious about the fact that there is an inertia that is affecting them, i.e., I'm doing nothing in this situation, I need to change it, or I'm doing something and I need to stop. First of all, someone has to be conscious of that. You have to become aware that this is a situation that you want to change. And then number two, you have to be intentional about how you're going to change it. Because just because you say you want to change something doesn't mean it's actually going to change. Again, I have a texting community. I told you about this at the top of this episode. You hear me talk about it every single day. And when people text me, I ask them questions like, hey, what are you dealing with right now? What are you working on? What's your situation? What's the biggest challenge that you have? And people give me an answer. And when they're telling me what their challenges are, often, when people tell me their challenges, they've been dealing with these challenges for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years running, the exact same challenge. And it's not because these people are idiots and they don't know that they need to do something about it. Usually by this point, when I'm talking to people about it and they're communicating to me that there is a challenge, they are conscious about it. They're aware that there is something that they want to fix. I want to find my purpose in life. I want to stop smoking. I want to work out more often. I want to make more money. I need to quit my job. I need to start my business. I need to get more customers. I need to get higher level clients. I hear people say these kind of things all the time. So you're conscious about it. You got the first part taken care of. Now the next part is intentionality. You got to get intentional about how you're going to change the situation. And the big issue that many people have with this when it comes to the intentionality of how you're going to change the situation is many people's resolve, their resolution is, well, let me just try to figure it out on my own. Let me watch some YouTube, listen to some podcasts, read some books, see if I can figure it out. Usually this doesn't work. This is the reason why people had the same challenge for 3, 4, 5, 7, 10 years straight, because your intentionality is off. Just because you have an intention to fix a problem doesn't mean you are the most qualified person to fix the problem. Let me repeat what I just said. Just because you have the intention to fix a problem does not mean you are the most qualified person to fix the problem. Just today, as a matter of fact, there was somewhere in the hallway in my building, there is some source that is leading to ants crawling around in the hallway of my building, not in my unit, but in the building. And ants are starting to come towards my doorway, and then a couple of them start to creep into my place. And I called the maintenance in the building and told them what the situation was, because I'm not going to fix it. They're going to fix it. All right, they're going to call the exterminating company or whoever is responsible for getting rid of those ants, and they're going to get rid of them, because even though I'm intentional about getting the problem fixed, I ain't the one who's going to fix it. Now, could I fix it? Yeah, I could probably go to the hardware store and buy some stuff that'll get rid of the ants, but that ain't my job. All right, as much as I pay to live here, I ain't doing that. They're doing it. All right, they're going to take care of that job, and I'm going to keep calling them and harassing them until they take care of the job. So I'm both conscious and I'm intentional, but I am not responsible for actually doing the work. I'm responsible for making sure it gets handled, but I'm not responsible for doing the work. So some of you, again, this is something that I've talked about. Let me tell you what episode this was, because many of you need to listen to this episode. Episode number 2084, When and How to Fire Yourself. Many of you have been dealing with the same problem for 3, 4, 5 years, 3, 4, 5 months. And the reason why you are still dealing with the same problem is not because you are not aware of the problem. And you're not always aware. You don't make yourself hyper aware, because if you were hyper aware of it, you wouldn't be able to do anything else until you fix it. But you're at least mildly aware of the issue. The challenge is you got the wrong person on the job, which is you. You have an unqualified person on the job. That's why you're not solving the problem. Someone told me they're trying to quit smoking, but they just smoked yesterday. Well, the problem is you got an unqualified person on the gig. You got to get somebody better than you on the job, because clearly you ain't getting the job done. All right, if you hired somebody to help another person quit smoking, let's say your best friend needed to quit smoking and you hired a coach for him, and that coach was not able to get that person to quit smoking. Your best friend just smoked yesterday, and this coach has been on the job for 6 months. What would you say? Would you fire the coach, or would you keep paying him? All right, you would fire the coach, right? Because obviously the coach ain't doing their job. So you got to look at yourself with the same level of dispassionate energy, as dispassionately as you would a third person. All right, this person is not getting the job done. They're off the job. Let's put somebody better on the job. This is just how it works, folks. This is how it works. And you understand who I am. I come from the sports world. In sports, if you're not getting the job done, you get replaced, and somebody else steps up, and if they're doing the job better than you, then they take your spot. That's how it works. And hopefully you get another chance, maybe in a different role. Maybe if that person falters, you get to come back. But the whole point is, it's a performance-based business. And all of you need to look at your performance in areas in which you're putting yourself in charge. And if you're not performing, you got to get fired. Excuse me. You are no exception. You're not exceptional from anyone else who is not getting the job done. Your current situation, folks, does not look the way that you want it to look. You must bring energy that is greater than the situation in order for the ground underneath the situation to shift. Does not necessarily mean that you're going to solve the whole problem, but the energy can simply be, okay, I'm not getting it done. So clearly my energy ain't enough, and my intelligence is not enough. My knowledge is not enough. My skills aren't enough. Let me bring someone else who, with their skill combined with their knowledge and experience, they will have the energy to move this situation to a different place from where it is, because I clearly do not have it. My results are showing that I don't have it. All right, so sometimes that means making massive change to a circumstance, not just small cosmetic changes to a situation. There's another challenge I know for people, that you're making small cosmetic changes. You're trying to make these small incremental changes when what you need is a complete overhaul, a complete facelift of your situation. Now, this is a disturbing thought for many people because it forces you to move outside of your comfort zone and to disturb your peace, so to speak. You have to disturb the peace of your status quo when you really need to change the situation. Is everyone following what I'm saying here? You can't just make small incremental changes when you have a big, serious problem. A big, serious problem that keeps repeating itself. Small incremental changes are not the answer to that problem. The answer is you need to make a big change. You got to disturb the peace of this situation. It needs to be a complete overhaul of everything that's going on. This is the reason why in Fortune 500 companies, when the company is failing, at least in the eyes of the people in charge, the decision makers, usually known as the shareholders, what do? They go in there and they shake things up. A whole bunch of people get fired. All right, CEO gets fired, top executives get fired, people get shifted around, moved around. They make a wholesale change to what's going on, not just some small incremental change. They don't just replace the mail room guy and the maintenance man. They replace the people at the top. They replace the decision makers. They want a whole new vision and a whole new direction of what the company is doing, because clearly what's been happening ain't working. Now, does that mean that this shakeup always necessarily works? No. But if they had let things continue going as they were going, was that going to work? No, that wasn't going to work either. So doing something often is better than doing nothing. And a bunch of you have this challenge of doing nothing, even though you're thinking you need to do something. You know you want to do something. You say you want to do something, but you're not actually doing anything. And again, one of the main reasons is because you're putting someone who doesn't know what the anything is on the job. And again, you are that person. Sometimes you got to get the unqualified people off the bus, and you are the unqualified person, folks. In Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, he talks about this. The top performing companies out there, the first thing that they do is get the wrong people out of the room before they get the right people into the room. First step is not getting the right people in. The first step is not figuring out what to do. The first step is getting the right people in the room. Then you figure out what to do. Because see, the right people will figure it out. The wrong people will never figure it out. And you need to be disciplined enough and honest with yourself enough, self-accountable enough to know when you are one of those wrong people. It doesn't mean you're completely off the job of your life. It just means you're off that job. And that's completely okay. Again, you don't have to do every job. Again, if there's an exterminator needed where I live, I ain't doing the job. I'm not walking around spraying in the baseboards, or I'm not doing any of that shit. But I will find somebody who will do it, and it will get done as quickly as possible. So you got to know when the job is just not for you. So this wholesale change, again, forces you to change your status quo. This is especially challenging when you're doing it to and with other people, not just with yourself, because either way, the law of inertia is still a law, or whether it applies to you or another person. And the law must be applied in any circumstance which fits this description. Any situation that has been sitting for a while and not changing, the law of inertia has already set in. This is a law. It applies everywhere. So you got to make wholesale changes. This is why, again, when the fixers come into a Fortune 500 company, people get fired. They don't just retrain the staff. They fire people. All right, you got to go. You're out. And whoever came with you, they're fired too, just because they know you. All right, they're fired. That's the way it works. This is all part of shaking up the inertia of an organization. Point number 2, today's topic, once again, is nothing fixes itself. Number 2, you need parameters and rules for why something needs to be fixed and when. What does this do? In other words, if something's not working, how do you know when it's not working? That's the point. You see, when people say, is it working? Or somebody's doing something, I'm running some ads on Facebook. Are they working? Well, what's your measure of working? All right, I'm putting out content on my podcast every day. Is it working? Well, what's your definition of working? I'm sending ads out. I'm sending emails out to my email list to build a relationship with my prospects. Is it working? Well, how do you define working? You need clear parameters, folks, for whether something is working versus not working. Because if you don't know, then you're just going off of your feel and you're eyeballing it. And when you do that, folks, it makes it very easy to lie to yourself. And a lot of people get really, really good at lying to themselves. Studies show that by around the age of 8 years, human beings get pretty good at lying with their words. And usually that's a reflection of you lying with your thoughts. Now, you can't read another person's brain, but if you want to get a good feel for how somebody thinks, is listen to them talk. An 8-year-old gets good at lying. So if you're 28 or 48 or 68, you have all those years practicing lying, telling yourself lies in your head and then allowing those lies to be verbalized through your mouth. Therefore, If your measure of working versus not working is just based on your subjective eyeballing, this feeling of whether something's working or not, it's very easy for you to lie to yourself in your entire life. And some of you have been doing exactly that. How do you know how long you can allow something to not be working before you do something about it? And the only way you can answer that question is you can be clear on what working looks like. You need clear answers to these questions, and you need to hold yourself accountable to enforcing these rules. So let's say you're in the sales world, right? You're in some form of sales, and we all are. But let's say you're in sales, where you are actually going out and making financial transactions every day, and this is how you keep your ship afloat. How many days with no sales or no appointments can you go before something needs to be fixed? Let's say if it's 2 straight days, no sales, no appointments. Would that be like panic time? What about 12 days? What about 6 months? You need answers to these questions. So you know when you can accurately gauge something is not working and when you must do something to shake up the situation. And this is good that you can apply this in damn near every aspect of life. And the more aspects in which you do this, in which you measure, in which you have clear parameters for working versus not working, the less chance that you ever fall into a deep inertia of things not working and you like, damn, wait a minute, this hasn't been working for a while. I better do something about it now. So you won't get into that emergency situation. And everybody can apply this. And we can all apply this to ourselves and be more accountable to ourselves if we just started holding ourselves to these parameters in more areas of life. So whatever number of areas in which you're already doing this, great. In any areas in which you're not doing this, you should start so that if and when things are not going acceptably, you can start fixing them like ASAP and not let it get too far downstream, so to speak, and nothing has been fixed. Because if you have no parameters, it's very easy for something to not be working for a long time and you never get the initiative to do anything about it because there's no alarm system going off and saying, hey, it's been 3 days and your parameter is 2 days. This is the third day. You got to do something about that. You got to do something about the situation. But if you don't have that, well, nothing's going to change. I just told you a couple of days ago that one thing I was holding myself accountable to was that I always wanted to finish work by 5 p.m., but I was allowing that rule to become a suggestion because I was finishing at 5:11, 5:15, 5:22, and every day I was going just leaking past that deadline that I allegedly had set for myself. And then I had to get conscious about it. First thing I had to get conscious about it. All right, this is unacceptable. I can't keep doing this. I'm telling myself that it's a rule, but I'm treating it like a suggestion, and I got to fix this. And I started getting, once I got conscious about it, now I'm thinking about it. Now I see what time it is, 4:45. Okay, I have 15 minutes, period, full stop. And I got intentional. All right, it's 5 o'clock, I'm done. All right, whatever's not done is not done. Well, I got to get everything done by 5 o'clock, but I'm done at 5 o'clock. There's no leakage, and I'm not allowing that anymore. Holding yourself accountable. But if you don't have these parameters, then you can just keep leaking every day. Before you know it, all this time has leaked away and you didn't even realize it, simply because there were no parameters in place and no rules in place. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is nothing fixes itself. Number 3, key aspect of change, folks, is a shift in mindset, not a access to a tool or getting a new strategy in mind. The key aspect to change, when you want to make a change in your life, any aspect of life, this can be work related or personal related. Key aspect is you need to change the way you think about and look at the situation before you get access to any tools or before you go plug into any new strategy. You got to change your mindset, because understand this: if you don't change your mindset about a situation, but you get new tools and a new strategy to plug in or some new ideas or information, you're going to mess it up anyway. Even if the tool is a perfect tool, you're still going to find a way to mess it up. Why? Because your mindset is not ready to use the tool in the way in which it was intended to be used. You don't have the right mentality. You got to have the right mindset first, then the tools start to matter. Tools don't matter if you don't have the right mentality, everybody. With the wrong mentality, the tools do not matter. In our world today, where all of us have access to more information at our fingertips than our parents had access to 40 years ago, in a whole lifetime, we got more access in 1 minute than they had a whole lifetime 40 years ago. Many of us default to looking for information, tools, strategies, and how-to when things are not working the way we want them to work. How many of you are doing that right now today? How many of you have an idea today? Hey, I just got to get more information. I got to get the right tools. Somebody got to give me the right strategy, and I just need someone to tell me how to do this, and that will solve all of my problems. I'm here to let you know, no, it's not going to solve your problems, because you have access to millions of each one of those information, tools, strategies, how to. There are millions of them available. You ain't got to pay for them. All right, just look it up on your favorite, whatever format you like: blogs, audio, video. There's a million of each one telling you more of all of these things on whatever subject you're looking for. And despite access to all that information, nothing's changing in your life, right? You know why nothing's changing? Because you still have the same mindset that you had last week. That's your problem. Problem is not you don't have the information. Problem is you don't have the mindset. You don't have the mentality. You had the same thought pattern now that you had 6 months ago when things were not working. All right, you still got the same mindset. That's why you got the same situation. When your mindset changes, then the results change. Remember, it's be, do, and have in that order. Biggest change that any human being will make in life is a change in mentality, change in thought patterns. Change in mentality leads to a change in actions. Those changes in actions leads to a change in outcomes. Thusly, the most important fix you need to make in your life is a change in the way that you think about and look at your circumstances. Let me say that again. Thusly, the most important fix you need to make in your life is a change in the way that you think about and look at your circumstance. That does not mean you look at a circumstance that's not working and fool yourself into thinking that is okay. That's not what I mean. That could be something that you do, but that's not the point here. What I mean is, if you have a circumstance that's not quite working, instead of continually telling yourself, well, I'll figure it out on my own at some point, stop telling yourself that bullshit and tell yourself, let me get somebody else on this job, because clearly me being on the job has not produced any results. That's a shift in mindset. Shift in mindset is, I've been on the job, I'm not getting it done, I'm fired, let me hire somebody who's better than me. That's a shift in mindset. This is why mindset is the foundation of everything we do here at Work on Your Game, what I just explained here. When you shift your mindset, any strategy change will be easy to implement because now your mind is open to implementing the strategy. It's malleable. It's fertile soil for the strategy to be planted in and to germinate through. Let's see, if you have barren soil and some of your minds are barren soil, it doesn't matter how many seeds you put in. They could be the best seeds in the world. Ain't no plants going to grow because the soil's trash. All right, I'm referring to your mindset. All right, so any how-to is easy to apply when you have the right mindset. Any information is easily absorbed with the right mentality. See, it's not that we don't use these things, it's that it's simply that we look at them as we need to look at them as the secondary change, not the primary change. Secondary change is what you do, how you do it, the strategy, tell me what to do next, what steps do I take. That's secondary. That's the doing part. The most important change is the being part. How am I thinking? What am I looking at? What is my situation right now? Let me stop telling myself the same thing I've been telling myself for the last 3 years that has not worked, and let me get a completely different mindset. The reason why people don't change in this way is simply because it's very uncomfortable to change mindsets. And it's very easy for you to say all the right things, but keep the same mindset because you can hide your mindset. Nobody can see your mindset. I can't read what's going on in your head. I can only go off of what you tell me. So you can lie to me all day. You lie to yourself all day. Many of you lie to yourself your whole lives. And this is the reason why you're in the same spot with the same problems over and over again, because you're not doing anything different. You got the same mindset. I give you all the information in the world. I give you a lot of it right here on the show. How many episodes we got? All right, how many thousands of hours of material have I put out there? It's all out there. And then you combine that, multiply that by 1,000 other people out there who are who do similar things to me. Whether they're writing books, they got shows, they got videos, they got articles, they got social media. We're putting all this stuff out every single day. There's more of it to absorb than you can possibly take in. None of these is a solution to your problem. However, solution to your problem is a change in mindset. That's when everything changes. Let's recap today's class. It says nothing fixes itself. This is about you getting real with yourself about what you need to address in your life and your business, understanding that things do not change on their own and that we got to break out of the inertia if you want anything to be different. Number one, remembering that law of inertia. For anything to change, it must be impacted by an outside force that is greater than the current circumstance, meaning you can't keep telling yourself the same thoughts and expect things to be different. And if you do want things to be different, you have to come with a mindset that is stronger than the one that got you here. Number two, you need parameters and rules for when something is working or not working, and they need to be laid out clearly. If this happens this many times within this time frame, that means it's working. If anything less than that, that means it's not working. It needs to be black and white and clear and binary. All right, that's how you measure whether it's working or not. It is not going off of your feelings or your thoughts or your just what side of the bed you woke up on today. Number three, the key aspect of change is a shift in mindset, not access to a tool or a strategy or a how-to. Tools, strategies, and how-to are part of the doing process. The way that you think and the way you look at a situation is part of the being process. Being comes before doing. It's not that doing does not matter. It's just that being comes first. All that said, text me, see you in my text community. My number is 305-384-6894 and workonyourgameuniversity.com. It's the only place you can be close with me directly. And listen, I'm looking for people who are serious about taking themselves where they want to go, not just talking about it, but you're serious about doing it. go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. If you're not serious about it, if you're okay where you're at, you want to keep rationalizing and feel good about it and jerk off on information, well, I'll keep putting the show out. Do as you wish, but you need not apply at Work on Your Game University if you're not serious about taking yourself to the next level. So with all that said, work on your game. Dre, all